السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. ما شاء الله, great gathering. I wish we had like a circle and we can talk to each other instead of this setting. Alhamdulillah, very intimate, very brotherly, inshallah, mashallah, the spirit of brotherhood and sisterhood, I can feel it. So allow me, inshallah, to share again. I'm going to share the challenges. So it's not like we want to be negative or focus on the issues that we're facing as a community. Inshallah, Sister Ayman and Brother Muhammad will add to that. What can we do as a community to address the challenges that we face when it comes to raising a new generation of American Muslims, second and third and fourth generation of American Muslims in this country, inshallah. I like always to start with sharing data. It's very important for us to base our views and issues not based on perceptions, but based on data and based on solid information. So I'd like to share with you some studies that are done by mainstream universities, mainstream research institutions, that those are focused on the challenges that we face as a community. One of those studies, it's kind of an old study, almost 10 years old, was done by the School of Medicine of Pittsburgh University. So they wanted to see how much exposure an average teenager in this country, growing up in this country, who listen to music on a regular basis, how much of exposure they are when it comes to drug and substance abuse. So what they did, they analyzed the most popular 279 songs by the Billboard magazine. I think that was almost 10 or 12 years ago. And they analyzed every type of music. The rap, the hip hop, every type of music. And they found out that an average teenager is exposed to 84 times a day an explicit reference to drug and substance abuse. 84 times a day. Over 430 times a week, over 30,000 times a year. Right? Whatever that type of music that they listen to. So our young men and women are faced with the same challenges that an average youth growing up in this country is facing. They know different than, and I understand we as a community, we like to push back and say, but our children are not the same. The reality is they live within the same reality, within the same context. Another recent study done by the State University of San Francisco, they looked, and I'm going to share some studies that address young Muslims in different ages. So the study of the San Francisco State University focused on age 5 to 9 years old, right? And 5 to 9 years old Muslim children. So that is done in Muslim kids. And they found out that 1 out of every 2 does not really know whether they can be Muslims and Americans at the same time. So there is an issue with the Islamic identity. 1 out of every 2. 1 out of 3, they actually did not tell their friends that they are Muslims. So they didn't want to bring the issue of Islam within any discussion. And 1 out of 6, they actually pretended that they are non-Muslims. Right? We can draw the conclusions. The conclusion is that these young boys and girls are faced with the challenge of being Muslim, the Islamic identity. They want to fit in, right? So that is one study. Then we move to a higher age, an older age. There is a study done by Yaqeen Institute. I'm sure that you all know Yaqeen Institute. It's a Islamic research based on Dallas, Texas. They did a study on the 16 to 20 years old. They interviewed 30 young men and women between the age of 16 and 20, 19 young women, 11 young men, and they interviewed them. They identified 6 major issues raised by these youth, right? It's not us as parents, it's not the teacher, it's the young people themselves who spoke about their own issues that they face within the community. But before we go through those issues, I want you to keep in mind there is a theory in psychology that within minority groups, people internalize racism, right, and a stereotype about their own groups. And it is known that minority groups, they start to actually believe in the stereotypes that they hear about their own groups from others, right? So they internalize those stereotypes. So the first issue, let me know how much time. I have 5 minutes? 5 actual minutes? 5 Egyptian minutes. Doctor, I like to use the Egyptian minutes because you can stretch them the way you want. 5 minutes. So they identified 6 issues. Let's take one minute per one. First issue they identified was, who am I really? And they found out they struggled. One of the sisters, actually, her name is Fatima, and I'm mentioning the names because it's a public study. It's published, and these people give consent for the study to be published, I'm sure. So one of the 16-year-old sisters said, I'm not really sure. I feel that I will never be enough Muslims. I will never be enough Muslim because I am being judged by my aunties in the masjid, right? That I'm not good enough to be a good Muslim. Meanwhile, when I am around my non-Muslim friends, I do not want to pray because I do not want to look as a different person. So there is an internal challenge, there is a pressure that can lead to a lot of emotional distress when it comes to Islamic identity. And the study talks about level of Muslimness and level of Americanness. Am I American enough? Am I Muslim enough? That's what the study talk about. And they said the most significant religious issue that can be displayed when it comes to that is the issue of hijab. Because young sisters need to navigate between being pretty and looking cool, being given a label of being a liberal, being religious. They do not want to look, the study said, one of the sisters said, like, I don't want to look as an oppressed Saudi girl. And I want to tell America that I'm not an oppressed Saudi girl. And I want to tell my aunties in the masjid I'm a good Muslim. And I want to tell my friends that I'm still prettier and cooler than them. These are the real issues that our sons and daughters, they actually face in the community. And that creates a lot of pressure on young generation. That's number one. Number two, their relationship with the religious leadership. They actually believe that young people are treated as a second-class citizen within our masajid. Especially sisters, they said, literally we are yelled at more than the brothers. Because imams always focus on our hijab, while young men in the community and old men in the community, they can do whatever they want and nobody address their own issues, right? So that is the second issue. They felt that are treated as a second-class citizen. Third issue, women issues versus violence. There are two narratives being pushed by Islamophobia, that Islam is a religion of violence and Islam oppresses women. The study shows that the overwhelming majority of those 30 young men and women who participated in Yaqeen study, most of them do not believe that Islam is a religion of violence. While the majority of them believe that actually as a community we have issues with women, that women are not treated well within our community. So they actually internalize those narrative of Islamophobia, and they happen to believe that some of those claims of Islamophobia happens to be true. That is issue number 3. Issue number 4. I don't have my glasses and I can't read my handwriting. Okay. Is actually counseling. Studies are showing that there are issues with counselors. Because when they go through that emotional distress and they seek help from counselors, many of the counselors actually believe that religion itself is part of the problem. So there is even a bias when it comes to counseling and services that are offered to the young generation of American Muslims to help them to go through their struggle. So that's another issue. One more issue. I don't know how many minutes I have, Muhammad. Please keep me posted. So it's over. The 5 minutes are over. Okay. So another issue, they are actually ask them a particular question. I want you to reflect on them. They ask them, do you see Islam as a tool of empowerment, of impediment? Does Islam empowers you to move to the next level, achieve your dreams, or actually Islam hinders you from moving to the next level? 16 out of the 30 young men and women who participated in the study said we actually see Islam as an impediment, something that hinders us, and we need to compromise our Islamic values to be able to move to the next level. Last issue, one of the young brothers who participated in the study actually said it is being an Islamophobic while a Muslim is easier. So he actually told his friends that I actually left Islam, and he spoke to them how's his parents, right? How's his parents are upset about it, and he said, I got celebrated for that, and that actually made my date happy with me. So sometimes it's easier for them to say, to distance themselves from these are real issues. These are not my perception. These are research studies done by very respected institutions. I mentioned School of Medicine of Pittsburgh University, San Francisco State University, and Yaqeen Institute. Inshallah, I'll leave it to Sister Iman and Brother Muhammad, inshallah, to elaborate on some of the solution and things we can do as a community. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.